The Browning automatic rifle appears in over 50 Medal of Honor citations from World War II. The M1 Garand appears in over 40. They were the weapons that gave one person the capability to change a battle. The question isn't which guns won the most Medals of Honor. It's whether the guns made the heroes or the heroes made the guns matter. Let's start with what the Medal of Honor actually is. The highest U.S. military decoration, awarded for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of life above and beyond the call of duty. The requirement is extreme valor in combat. Many are awarded posthumously because the recipient died performing the action. World War II statistics tell the story. 464 total Medals of Honor were awarded. The Army received 307. Navy and Marines received 81. Army Air Forces received 38. Coast Guard received 1. Approximately 60% were posthumous. The recipients were killed earning them. The common scenarios were holding a position against overwhelming odds, saving wounded comrades under fire, destroying enemy positions single-handedly, sacrificing oneself to save others, and leading assaults against fortified positions. Why do weapons matter in this context? Heroism requires both opportunity and capability. The right weapon enables one person to make a decisive impact. The wrong weapon means heroism still happens, but with less effect. The Browning automatic rifle, the BAR, appears more in Medal of Honor citations than any other weapon. The numbers are striking. An estimated 50 or more Medal of Honor recipients used the BAR as their primary weapon. It's the most common weapon in Medal of Honor citations. This is disproportionate because there was only one BAR per infantry squad, yet it appears in over 10% of Medal of Honor actions. What made it the hero's gun? Firepower. 20-round magazine firing full automatic at 550 rounds per minute. One man with a BAR had the firepower of an entire squad. He could hold a position alone against dozens of attackers. The tactical role mattered too. The BAR was the squad automatic weapon, the center of both offensive and defensive operations. It was positioned where the action was hottest. The BAR gunner was where enemy assaults concentrated. This created opportunities for heroism. But there was a burden. The BAR weighed 19.4 pounds without ammunition. Extra ammunition added another 20 pounds or more. BAR gunners carried over 40 pounds of weapon and ammunition. The role was volunteer only. It was prestigious but extremely dangerous. This created self-selection. The soldiers who volunteered for BAR gunner were often the bold, aggressive types who would later perform heroic actions. Private First Class Harold Garman in May 1944 in Italy demonstrates this. A German counterattack pinned his squad down. Garman, the BAR gunner, stayed behind while others withdrew to safety. Alone, he held the position for 3 hours. He killed over 13 Germans and wounded many more. His action allowed his company to reorganize and counterattack successfully. How did the BAR make this possible? The 20-round magazine meant sustained fire without reload pauses that would have left him vulnerable. Full automatic fire suppressed multiple German positions simultaneously. One man became an entire defensive line. Garman survived and received the Medal of Honor. Technical Sergeant Jake Lindsey in March 1945 in Germany shows the offensive use. His squad was pinned by German machine guns during an assault on a town. Lindsey, carrying the BAR, charged 3 machine gun positions alone. He destroyed all 3 nests and killed 12 Germans. He was wounded but continued fighting and led his squad into the town. Lindsey survived and received the Medal of Honor. The M1 Garand was the second most common weapon in Medal of Honor citations. An estimated 40 or more Medal of Honor recipients use the M1 Garand as their primary weapon. This was the standard issue rifle, so statistical presence was expected given that most soldiers carried it. What made it effective for heroism? The semi-automatic advantage was crucial. 8 rounds without reloading compared to bolt-action rifles that required manual cycling after each shot. Rate of fire was 40 to 50 aimed rounds per minute. One rifleman with the Garand equaled 2 to 3 riflemen with bolt-action rifles. The accuracy was excellent, effective to 500 yards. Semi-automatic operation didn't sacrifice precision. It enabled long-range heroic actions. Reliability was critical. It worked in mud, sand, and snow. When lives depend on your gun functioning, reliability matters more than any other factor. First Lieutenant Audie Murphy in January 1945 in France is the most famous example. A German counterattack with 6 tanks and 250 infantry overran Murphy's position. He ordered his men to withdraw, but stayed alone on a burning tank destroyer with a 50 caliber machine gun. He called artillery fire on his own position. He killed over 50 Germans and wounded many more. When ammunition was exhausted, he withdrew. The Garand's role here was secondary. Murphy's primary weapon was the 50 caliber machine gun on the tank destroyer. But he had his M1 Garand as backup and used it when 50 caliber ammunition ran low. The semi-automatic capability enabled both survival and continued fighting. Murphy survived and received the Medal of Honor. The German attack was broken. He became the most decorated U.S. soldier of World War II. The Browning M2.50 caliber heavy machine gun appears in fewer Medal of Honor citations than the BAR or Garand, but given its limited numbers, the proportion is high. An estimated 15 to 20 Medal of Honor recipients used the 50 caliber as their primary weapon during the heroic action. What made it heroic? Overwhelming firepower. 450 to 600 rounds per minute of .50 BMG ammunition. The impact destroyed vehicles, fortifications, and massed infantry. One gun equaled a company's firepower. It was primarily a defensive weapon, often in fixed positions on tripods or vehicles. The typical scenario was defenders being overrun with the gunner staying at the weapon. It became the ultimate last stand weapon. The weight was significant, 84 pounds for the gun alone. It was crew-served, usually requiring 2 to 3 men to operate effectively. Heroism often occurred when the crew was killed and one man stayed at the gun alone. First Lieutenant Audie Murphy's action, already covered, used the 50 caliber as the primary weapon. Staff Sergeant Clyde Choate in October 1944 in France provides another example. His unit was advancing across an open field and got pinned by German fire. Choate ran to a knocked-out tank that still had a functional 50 caliber machine gun mounted on it. He fired at German positions for 2 hours from an exposed position, standing on top of the tank. He suppressed multiple German positions, enabling his company to advance. The 50 caliber made this possible because of range. It could engage targets over 1,000 yards away. Penetration allowed it to destroy German fortified positions. The suppressive effect meant his company could maneuver under the 50 caliber's protective fire. Choate survived and received the Medal of Honor. The advance succeeded. The M1911 pistol appears in an estimated 10 to 15 Medal of Honor citations. It was often a secondary weapon, used when the primary weapon failed or ran out of ammunition. It was the desperate last resort weapon, and desperate situations produced desperate heroism. The 45 ACP stopping power was significant. One shot often disabled an enemy. In close quarters with no second chances, this mattered. It was also the standard officer weapon. Officers carried the M1911 as their primary sidearm. First Lieutenant Alexander Nininger Jr. in January 1942 in the Philippines earned the first Medal of Honor of World War II. During a Japanese attack at Bataan, Nininger grabbed a rifle and grenades and charged Japanese positions alone. He fought through 3 Japanese positions. His weapons were an M1 rifle, grenades, and then his M1911 pistol when the rifle was empty. He killed many Japanese soldiers before being killed himself. The M1911 played a role in his final position where he used it in close combat. 45 ACP at point-blank range was his last resort, but remained effective. Nininger was killed and received a posthumous Medal of Honor. His action delayed the Japanese advance. Grenades appear in an estimated 20 to 30 Medal of Honor citations. Often, the action involved throwing oneself on a grenade to save others. These awards were almost always posthumous because the hero died saving comrades. The ultimate sacrifice scenario was simple. An enemy throws a grenade into a foxhole or position. The hero jumps on the grenade. His body absorbs the blast. He saves 2 to 10 or more comrades. The hero dies. Private First Class Jacklyn Lucas in February 1945 on Iwo Jima was the youngest World War II Medal of Honor recipient. He was 17 years old, having lied about his age to enlist. A Japanese grenade landed in his trench. Lucas jumped on the first grenade. A second grenade landed. He pulled the second grenade under his body as well. Both exploded. The miracle was that Lucas survived, which was extremely rare. He had over 200 pieces of shrapnel in his body, but lived. He saved 3 other Marines. Lucas survived, barely, and received the Medal of Honor. He became the youngest Marine to receive it. Flamethrowers appear in an estimated 5 to 8 Medal of Honor citations. Flamethrower operators had a 92% casualty rate. It was an extremely dangerous role. Enemies shot flamethrower operators first because of the threat they posed. What made it heroic? The extreme danger was obvious. The fuel tank on the operator's back was a visible target. If hit by a bullet, the operator would be engulfed in flames. Life expectancy was measured in minutes in active combat. But the tactical value was enormous. Flamethrowers cleared bunkers and caves that nothing else could. They were essential in Pacific Island warfare. One man with a flamethrower equaled a squad's assault capability. Corporal Hershel Williams in February 1945 on Iwo Jima performed one of the most famous flamethrower actions. Japanese pillboxes had blocked the American advance for days. Williams volunteered to use the flamethrower. Alone, he cleared 7 pillboxes over 4 hours. He was in an exposed position, covered by riflemen. He killed dozens of Japanese soldiers and enabled the advance to continue. The flamethrower made this possible because it was the only weapon that could clear reinforced pillboxes effectively. The range of 50 yards of liquid fire was sufficient. The psychological effect was devastating as Japanese soldiers abandoned positions rather than face the flames. Williams survived, which was rare for flamethrower operators. He received the Medal of Honor. He was the last surviving World War II Medal of Honor recipient, dying in 2022 at age 98. So why did certain guns appear in more Medal of Honor citations? Statistical analysis reveals patterns. First, opportunity. BAR gunners were positioned where action was hottest. More exposure meant more opportunities for heroism. Second, capability. The BAR, M1 Garand, and .50 caliber could accomplish Medal of Honor-worthy tasks alone. Firepower enabled one person to affect battle outcomes. Third, role self-selection. BAR gunners were volunteers, attracting brave personalities. Fourth, tactical importance. Losing a BAR or .50 caliber position often meant losing the entire position. Staying meant saving the unit. High stakes meant Medal of Honor consideration. Fifth, visibility. Primary weapons were more visible in after-action reports. Documentation was better for Medal of Honor consideration. This leads to the reverse question: do guns make heroes? The argument for is that better guns provide more capability, which creates more impact. The BAR allowed one man to hold against dozens. The .50 caliber stopped tank columns. Without powerful weapons, the same bravery produces less effect. The argument against is that heroism is character, not equipment. The same person with a lesser weapon would find a way to be heroic. Desmond Doss carried no weapon and still earned the Medal of Honor. The weapon is a tool. The hero is the person. Heroes need capability to act on their courage. The best analogy is a race car driver who needs a fast car, but talent matters most. The weapon multiplies heroism, but doesn't create it. A brave soldier with a BAR can hold a position. A coward with a BAR will still run. But a brave soldier with only a pistol can't hold the same position. Both character and capability matter. Beyond the statistics, these weren't gun stories, they were people stories. Weapons enabled heroism, but didn't create it. Character determined who stayed and who ran. The common threads across all Medal of Honor actions were soldiers who stayed when others retreated, protected comrades over themselves, made a difference when it mattered most, and often died doing it. The legacy is sobering. 60% of Medal of Honor recipients were killed in action. The weapons gave them a fighting chance. Courage made them stay and use those weapons when every instinct said to run. The Browning automatic rifle, the M1 Garand, and the Browning M2 .50 caliber appear most in Medal of Honor citations because they gave individual soldiers the capability to change battle outcomes. But capability without courage is useless. The weapons were tools. The heroes were the men who used them when it mattered most. 464 Medals of Honor were awarded in World War II. Each one represents a moment when someone chose to stay when they could have left, chose to fight when they could have hidden, chose others over themselves. The weapons in their hands gave them the power to make that choice matter, but the choice itself, that came from something no weapon can provide. That came from character, from courage, from the willingness to give everything for others. The guns that won the most Medals of Honor were the guns that gave heroes the tools to be heroic. But without the heroes, they were just metal and wood. It wasn't the BAR that held the line. It was the soldier who refused to leave it. It wasn't the .50 caliber that stopped the attack. It was the gunner who stayed at it when the position was overrun. Weapons enabled heroism. Character created it. And that's a lesson that matters far more than any list of guns ever could.